My neighbor kept parking in my driveway, saying, "You don't use it enough, so it's basically mine now." When I had his car towed, he pounded on my door screaming, "I'll see you for every penny." The next day, He marched into court, smirking, until the judge played the security footage. His face went pale as the verdict was announced. I live in a quiet neighborhood in Denver, Colorado. My house has a modest driveway, enough for my car and a bit of extra space. For years, it was just that, a place to park. Then Mike moved in next door, and things started to change. Mike seemed friendly at first. We'd exchange nods, maybe a quick chat about the weather. But then I started noticing his car in my driveway. At first, it was occasional. I'd come home to find his sedan parked there, and he'd quickly move it with a casual apology. "Sorry, just needed a spot for a minute," he'd say. I didn't think much of it. We all have our moments. But then it became frequent. I'd leave for work in the morning, and by the time I returned, there his car would be, comfortably settled in my driveway. I approached him about it. "Mike," I began one evening, "I've noticed you've been parking in my driveway quite a bit. Could you please stop? It's my private property." He chuckled, waving a dismissive hand. "Oh, come on. You don't use it all the time. It's just sitting there." Thought I'd make use of the space. I was taken aback. "That's not the point. It's my driveway. I decide who parks there." He shrugged. "Don't be so uptight. It's just parking." Frustrated, I decided to document every instance. I took photos, noted dates and times. I even installed a security camera facing the driveway, capturing every unauthorized parking episode. One particularly rainy evening, I returned home, drenched and exhausted, only to find Mike's car once again in my driveway. That was the last straw. I called a towing company, and within the hour, his car was gone. The next morning, a furious pounding on my door jolted me awake. I opened it to find Mike, face flushed with anger. "You had my car towed?" he bellowed. "Yes," I replied calmly. "I warned you multiple times." "You'll pay for this," he screamed. "I'm suing you for every penny." True to his word, a week later, I received a court summons. Mike was suing me for the towing fees and emotional distress. I couldn't believe it, but I was prepared. In court, Mike's attorney painted me as an unreasonable neighbor, claiming I had no right to tow his car without direct confrontation. When it was my turn, I presented my evidence, a detailed log of every time he parked in my driveway, photographs with timestamps, and, most importantly, the security footage. The judge watched intently as the videos played, showing Mike repeatedly parking in my driveway without permission. With each clip, Mike's confident smirk faded. After the footage ended, the judge turned to Mike. "Mr. Thompson, it's evident that you've been using your neighbor's driveway without consent. This is a clear violation of property rights." Mike stammered, trying to find words, but the evidence was undeniable. The judge ruled in my favor, dismissing Mike's claims and ordering him to reimburse me for the legal fees. As we left the courtroom, Mike avoided my gaze, his earlier bravado gone. Since that day, Mike hasn't parked in my driveway. Our interactions are minimal, a mere nod in passing. It's unfortunate that it took legal action to resolve what should have been a simple neighborly understanding. But it taught me a valuable lesson: stand firm in defending your rights, even against the most audacious of neighbors. After the court day, I thought it was over. I thought Mike had learned his lesson. But it turns out, people like him don't back down easily. They just get sneakier. For a few weeks, everything was quiet. Too quiet. He stopped talking to me, which was fine. He didn't park in my driveway again, which I appreciated. I let my guard down. That was a mistake. One morning, I went out to warm up my car and saw something strange. Deep, ugly scratches ran across my driver's side door. At first, I thought maybe someone scraped it by accident. But then I noticed a nail laying near my tire. And not just any nail, it had red paint on it. Same color as Mike's back porch railing. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but it didn't feel like a coincidence. I checked my camera footage. The one facing the driveway caught nothing. But I had a second one facing my front yard. Around 2:47 a.m., A figure walked slowly past my car. They crouched down for a few seconds, stood up, and walked away. It was dark, but I could make out the outline. Same height. Same walk. Same damn hoodie Mike always wore. I called the police, filed a report, and showed them the footage. They said it was inconclusive. No clear ID, no face, no plate. Just a figure. They took the report, said they'd keep an eye out, and that was it. I started parking inside my garage every night. I didn't want to risk more damage. But then it got weirder. Trash started showing up in my yard. Just little things at first. A crushed soda can, a random fast food bag. I picked them up, figuring they were just from passing cars. But then I found a ripped-up note under my doormat. It said, "Snitch." Nothing else. No signature. Just that one word, scratched in big, shaky letters. I started noticing Mike walking past my house more often. Always slow. Always staring. He'd never say anything, just look. It felt like a warning. Then one night, I heard something. A sharp sound, like glass breaking. I ran outside and found my porch light shattered. Someone had thrown a rock. I looked around, heart pounding. No one in sight. But that same nail from before? It was laying on the steps this time. I didn't sleep much after that. I added another camera. Then another. Motion lights. A new lock on the gate. Every time I thought I was one step ahead, something else happened. One morning, I found my mailbox hanging open, my letters soaked from the sprinklers. Someone had jammed a wet sponge inside it, ruining everything inside. I knew it was him. I just couldn't prove it. So I started documenting again. Everything. Every sound. Every odd piece of trash. Every time I saw him walk past. I started keeping a journal. I even printed out screenshots from the cameras and kept them in a binder. Then something odd happened. I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. It was a copy of the city code for public access easements and a note written under it in all caps. Look again. That was it. At first I thought it was more harassment, but the code caught my eye. I looked it up. It mentioned shared alleys, utility access zones, and something else. Driveways built partly on public land could sometimes fall into a gray area if they extended past certain lines. Mine didn't, I was sure of it. But it made me wonder. Was Mike trying to build a case again? Was he digging for some loophole? I went to City Hall, asked for property line maps, and got my hands on the survey records. Everything checked out. My driveway was 100% on my land. But that note wasn't a random threat. It was a fishing line. He wanted me to worry. And I was. Then, last week, something happened that made my stomach twist. I was taking out the trash when a different neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, 2 doors down, walked over. She said, "Hey, did you give someone permission to look through your garbage?" I blinked. "No." "Why?" "I saw someone out back last night," she said. "Digging through your bins. Didn't look like a raccoon to me." I checked my backyard camera. At 3:14 a.m., a figure climbed over my fence, rifled through the trash bins, and left carrying a bag. The hoodie? Familiar. The walk? Same. Mike again. Only this time, he was digging. Digging for something. I don't know what he's trying to find. But I know this isn't over. I couldn't stop thinking about the garbage. What was he looking for? Old mail? Bills? Anything with my name and address? Was he trying to dig up dirt on me, or worse, steal my identity? I started shredding everything. Even grocery receipts. I bought a locking trash bin. I even poured bleach over the contents before taking it to the curb, just in case. That might have seemed paranoid to someone else, but not to me. Not after everything. The worst part? There was no clear reason. He wasn't after money. He wasn't trying to win some feud. It felt personal, but I didn't understand why. It was just a driveway. Just a line of concrete. But Mike had turned it into something else, a symbol, maybe. A hill he was willing to die on. About a week after the garbage incident, I came home from work to find an envelope stuck in my screen door. Not mailed. No stamp. Just hand-delivered. Inside was a printed photo of my backyard, taken from somewhere high up, maybe a drone. My dog was in the photo, lying by the shed. On the back of the photo were 2 words written in red marker: "Watch him." That was it. I stood there frozen, gripping the photo. My dog, Boomer, is my best friend. He's old, blind in one eye, and wouldn't hurt a fly. The idea of someone watching him, threatening him, lit a fire in me. I walked straight to Mike's place and knocked hard. I was shaking with anger. He opened the door, but didn't say anything. Just leaned on the frame and smirked. "You threatening my dog now?" I asked, holding up the photo. His smile didn't move. "I don't know what you're talking about. You think this is a game?" "I think you're losing sleep over a piece of pavement," he said, voice calm. "Maybe it's time to let it go." I stared at him for a second. Then I turned and walked away. I wasn't going to give him a show on my front lawn. Not this time. The next day, I filed another report with the police. I gave them the photo. They asked if I had any footage of the drone, but of course I didn't. I didn't even know it was there. They said without a clear threat or identity, there wasn't much they could do. Then something strange happened. Out of nowhere, Mike stopped walking past my house. The late-night noises stopped. The trash stopped. Everything went quiet again. But it didn't feel like peace. It felt like silence before a storm. About a week later, I got a call from my credit card company. Someone had tried to open a new account using my name and address. I froze. That garbage. That's what he was after. He found something. I spent the next 2 days on the phone with banks, freezing accounts, changing passwords, monitoring every transaction. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I got a visit from the city. An inspector showed up at my door with a clipboard. "We received an anonymous complaint," he said. "Apparently, your shed violates city setback ordinances. We're here to assess." I followed him to the backyard, stunned. My shed had been there for 9 years. Never a problem. He measured, took notes, snapped photos. Then he left, saying I'd get a notice in the mail. A week later, the notice came. I was ordered to either move or tear down the shed within 30 days. It didn't take a genius to figure out who filed the complaint. Mike was playing the long game. I beat him in court, and he found another way to get at me, slow, silent, and just legal enough to avoid getting caught. I started sleeping less. Every creak in the house made me sit up. I left lights on. My cameras lit up my yard like a stadium. I walked Boomer with a flashlight, even during the day. But then something happened that changed everything. I got a call from Mrs. Alvarez again. She said she had something to show me. I walked over, and she led me into her kitchen. On her table was a small drone, cracked and scratched. "My grandson found it in our backyard," she said. "I figured it might belong to your friend next door." I nearly laughed. "That's not my friend. That's my nightmare." I examined the drone. The memory card was still inside. I took it home, plugged it into my computer, and waited. And there it was. Footage of my yard, my shed, my back door, me walking Boomer. And, chillingly, footage of Mrs. Alvarez's yard too. Her kids, her grandkids, her husband. This wasn't just about me. He was watching everyone. I called the police again. This time, they listened. They took the footage, started an investigation. I don't know what they'll find or how long it'll take, but at least now I'm not the only one who sees what's happening. And for the first time in months, Mike's smirk is gone. But the story isn't over yet. After the drone footage was turned in, things started moving fast. The police came by twice in 1 week. First time, they just asked more questions. The second time, they brought someone from the city with them, a guy who looked at my backyard, the cameras, even asked for copies of all the screenshots I'd collected. Then I didn't hear anything for a few days. And that silence? It felt different. Like the quiet that comes right before something big. Something final. One night, I got home late from work and noticed something weird. Mike's house was dark. No porch light, no TV glow through the blinds, nothing. Not like him. He always left lights on. Always made a show of being alert. I figured maybe he was out. Next morning, I woke up to police cars outside his house. Not one, not two, three cruisers and an unmarked SUV. I stood at my window, barely breathing. I saw Mike on the porch in cuffs. No smirk this time, just a blank face. Turns out, the drone wasn't just spying on me. He'd been flying it over multiple houses, recording things he shouldn't have. People inside their homes. Through windows. Kids playing in backyards. He made folders on his computer for each address. The police found it all. Enough to get him arrested for stalking, harassment, and a bunch of other stuff I didn't even know the legal names for. It wasn't just about the driveway. That was just where it started. Mike was messed up long before I ever had him towed. But I had no idea it would go this far. I should have pressed harder the first time I saw the signs. When he started small, like the trash or the scratches on my car, I thought it was just pettiness. I didn't think it was dangerous. But it was. A week after his arrest, a detective came by to update me. They had enough to hold him, but the case was going to trial. I'd be called to testify. So would Mrs. Alvarez and a few other neighbors. He'd been watching all of us. Later that night, I sat in my kitchen with Boomer asleep at my feet. And I felt it, this heavy, ugly mix of relief and guilt. I'd won. But it didn't feel good. I got my driveway back. My peace. But the truth is, I missed some early signs. I let things slide too long. I didn't want drama. I just wanted to be left alone. But letting someone walk all over you because you want to avoid a fight? That's a mistake too. I see that now. The trial came a month later. Mike showed up looking like a shell of the guy who used to strut past my house every day. Thin. Pale. Quiet. The courtroom was packed, neighbors, reporters, even a few people from the next block over who had heard about the case. When they played the drone footage on the big screen in court, people gasped. One video showed a woman brushing her hair in her bathroom. Another showed a kid climbing a tree in his yard. I watched Mike close his eyes like he couldn't bear to see what he'd done. When I took the stand, I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I told the truth. I told them about the driveway, the garbage, the mailbox, the drone, the picture of Boomer. And I said one thing I meant with my whole heart. This didn't have to happen. All he had to do was respect a line. But he couldn't do it, so the line turned into a wall. The jury didn't take long. Guilty on multiple counts. He's going away for a long time. And when the verdict was read, he didn't yell, didn't cry. Just sat there. After court, I went home, let Boomer out into the yard, and sat on the porch. The air was clean. The street was quiet. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. Some people just want to watch the world burn, one neighbor at a time. But if you let fear keep you quiet, they win. And sometimes you have to be louder than their noise. Sometimes you have to fight back. Even if it starts with a driveway.